Well, this'll be fun. Hello everyone, and welcome to another What If! And as decided by the poll, seriously thank you to all those who voted, I really do appreciate it. Today's What If scenario will be on the Ultra Sun and Moon games being sequels, instead of an alternate version of Sun and Moon, or whatever it was supposed to be. Now, before I begin, I want to clarify a couple of things. First, I will be imposing some limitations on my ideas so that I can try and make this work with the limitations of the 3DS hardware as best as I can, so stuff like HD textures and the like are out of the question for this What If. The second thing I want to clarify is that this What If is not me stating that my idea is better than theirs, nor am I saying that I could do a better job. This is simply an idea I wanted to do for fun, so if you have any issues with the concepts I presented in this, or prefer the Ultra games to this, feel free to tell me in the comments below, because I like hearing both sides when it comes to a discussion like this. So with all that said, let's begin. Now the first change will be the release date. Instead of 1 year after the game comes out, I'll be changing it to early/mid 2018. That way it'll give the game more time to be worked on, even if it's a few extra months, and the big release Pokemon-wise that year will be Pokken Tournament DX, released closer to the holiday season instead of September. As such, 2018 would give Pokemon fans the last 3DS Pokemon game, and the first Pokemon game on the Switch, not counting Pokemon Quest. So once fans finish up this now sequel to Sun and Moon, they could save up, so get excited for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee later in the year. Now it's time to change up the title, since Ultra doesn't sound like a good title to use for a sequel. How about something that sounds like a continuation/advancement of the Sun and Moon that doesn't involve putting a 2 on it? Maybe something like an eclipse? Yeah, that can work. So goodbye, Ultra Sun and Moon, and say hello to Pokemon Lunar Eclipse and Solar Eclipse. And yes, the Necrozma fusions will stay in there because personally, I like them, and they do look pretty cool. And they do somewhat fit with the title since it is blocking out the powers of the Sun and Moon deities, kind of like how an eclipse is the result of the Sun or Moon blocking out the other. Okay, that's stretching it a bit, but I already chose the title. Okay, let's move on. The game begins with a familiar cutscene of Lily running down the Aether Foundation, but then it begins to glitch out, and then it cuts to that same area 20 years later, with a wormhole in Lily's spot, and a familiar set of white shoes, only slightly bigger, walks into frame. The game then transitions to Elio or Celine, the names of the protagonists from the original Ultra games, moving into Alola with their family like before, but it's during the starter selection bit where things change. Instead of Professor Kukui, we now have a new professor, Professor Koa. Where's Kukui, you might be asking? Well, he's with his wife and son. Yep, he has a kid now. We never did get his or Burnett's age, so for all we know, they could be in their 20s and 30s in the original Sun and Moon, so it's possible they could have a kid in this time. Speaking of, the kid's name is Kanade, based off the Canadian Burnett, aka Sanguisorba canadensis, since that plant is also referred to as the white Burnett, and that was the closest thing I could think of in terms of combining Kukui's and Burnett's origins into one. Whoops. Anyways, Koa is a mix of the traditional professor seen in past games, as well as Kukui. He's a bit straightforward, but he will crack jokes every now and again. Heck, he makes one based on the starter you chose, i.e. choosing Litten will make him say, "I can see that choice has ignited the path ahead for you." Yes, it's cheesy, but hey, it's a game made for everyone, so it works. But yeah, back to the story. After we get our starter, we cut ahead to the bit where we meet the Kahuna for the first time, but since it's been 20 years and the like, we don't see Hala, but rather Hao, talking to someone with blonde hair and tan skin about which starter they'll pick. Speaking of, Hao has the Psychium Z in the What If instead of the Fightium Z like his grandfather did, because in the 20-year gap, something happened to the Fightium Z, and Hao decided to go with the Psychic one when he became Kahuna, since his Alolan Raichu was Psychic, and it was basically his second ace Pokemon next to his starter. So as we get closer, Hao smiles and introduces the player to his daughter, Star. Yep, and this What If Lily and Hao is canon, but Star isn't so happy as you'd think. She comments that she screwed up introducing herself, and when she chose her starter, she chooses the one that's weak to yours as punishment, since in this scene she's picking her starter. Basically, Star's arc is about having an inferiority complex and conquering it throughout the game, but in terms of the game being for everyone, it would be a lot more subtle and implied, instead of just outright stated. After that, we get to the tutorial, which you will have the option to skip this time around if you already know what to do. And then we get introduced to the Ultra Recon Squad. Zossi and Dulce for Solar, Osolaria and Fico for Lunar, who are just as friendly as the original Ultra games. Then we cut to the ceremony starting the Island Challenge, where we fight our rival Star, who now wears their starter, and Arakarov. But after this is where things change. After we get our Ultra Z ring, or whatever it's called, we have our characters look at the sky as they give their blessings to the Cocos, and then a dark silhouette in the shape of the mascot legendary Solgale or Lunala, but covered in what appears to be jewels, appears and creates a solar or lunar eclipse, shocking everyone, putting the region into darkness / removing the light. As the characters are confused about what happened, your character runs towards the shrine of Tapu Koko, and you see a wormhole, 2 silhouettes, and Tapu Koko behind the two, laying on the ground defeated before they throw the Tapu into the wormhole, before the 2 silhouettes decide to leave, but one of them decides to knock you unconscious with their Ultra Beast. So yeah, how's that for an opener? After your character wakes up, you and Star are tasked with going around the 4 islands like normal, while they sort out what happened with the eclipse and the missing Tapu. This is also where we see Kanade and Kukui / Burnett, who theorize the Aether Foundation must be up to no good, which makes Hao worried. While on the topic of kahunas though, let's quickly cover most of the new trial captains, and the last one's going to be secret for a reason. Since the previous ones are too old now to be trial captains according to the rules from the original game, we have a bunch of new ones. For normal, it's a regular looking guy called Joey, a reference to younger Joey from the original Sun and Moon, as well as a reference to a meme associated with Pokemon. Not much really different in comparison to Ulima's trial, but it is the first trial, so it doesn't have to be all that fancy. For the water trial, it's Lana's twin daughters, Alba and Victoria, both names based on different types of water lilies, which was part of Lana's name origin. Anyways, their trial is first dealing with Wishy-Washy, but then Victoria reveals that the Wishy-Washy part was a prank since they can only allow 1 trial captain at a time. And now it's time for the real trial to begin, as your character tries to get out of the spider web and encounters the Totem Araquanid after you escape it. On to the fire trial, we have a character based off the anime this time, which is Mimo, Kiawe's sister. Her trial requires you to use your Pokemon to help with various tasks around the farm. Yes, you're basically a farm boy / farm girl, but the purpose is to showcase that you had the fiery drive for the Island Challenge, so it kind of balances out. Now the grass trial will remain the same. However, the trial captain is different since, like I said earlier, old trial captains like Mallow will be too old. So instead of Mallow, we got a surprise. It's a talking Lurantis. How? Well, you have the wormholes to thank for that. Basically, this one came from a world in Ultra Space, which basically has multiple dimensions, and in one of those dimensions, Pokemon could talk. Anyways, after that, we don't get Ace Roll this trial since the Mimikyu went missing and it's basically been discontinued and replaced with a new one, but we do get an electric trial. Nothing special really, it's just an average guy called Hunter doing it, so. The second trial though, is different. You go through a swamp and find your way out, while also locating Stardust pieces, and then at the end, you give them to Plumeria, who isn't the trial captain, but does use the star pieces to open the gate. Also you battle her, so there's that. But after that, you have to make your way out of a stone snake pit and deal with a trial captain sitting on a throne surrounded by snake / poison Pokemon. Yep, we got a poison trial, and the name of the trial captain is Ulata, which is why I made the trial a toxic pain in the ass. And that's all the new trial captains, save for the last one I kept hidden for a reason. But since I brought up Plumeria, some of you might be curious where Team Skull is in this game. Well, to answer that, they're basically living their own lives and aren't a gang anymore. It's been 20 years since Sun and Moon, and they did split up and find work elsewhere in that Postgame back then, so it makes sense they wouldn't return as villainous team this time around, and are just spending time doing work or spending time with their families. Hell, some of them even married other grunts in the gang, so yeah, no fighting Team Skull this time around. But you do get to see Guzma later on, so your boy Guzma still lives on! Though on the topic of bad guys, let's continue the story. As mentioned before, we get Star's character arc of her trying to move past her inferiority complex and forms a friendship with your player character. But we also run into the Ultra Recon Squad again as we get reintroduced to Dulce / Fico and Zossi/Soliera from earlier in the game, and have a double battle with Zossi or Soliera with Star as our ally. After your character wins, we check on Tapu Lele's shrine and see them stolen, as well as who stole it. The Ultra Recon Squad duo you encountered in your version. When Star asks why they are doing this, Zossi/Soliera says that they, as well as their organization, are doing this to reignite the lost lights, and then they disappear. So I guess now it's time to check on the Aether Foundation to see if they're back to their evil ways. But when you get there, you're greeted by Moan? Lucimine's husband? And he looks like his old self but older? Yeah, Moan has his memory back, and he hugs his granddaughter tight. For the first time in a while, Star smiles and hugs him back, showing that at this point in the game, she is growing as a person and will continue to grow throughout the game. But how did Moan get his memory back? This has to be a trick by Lucimine, so they travel through the Aether Foundation, run into Wick and Faba, and then reach the top to deal with Lucimine. You see a figure in the distance. It looks blonde. You get close to it, but then you discover it's a grayish blonde, almost silver-like. The figure turns around, and we see a 60-plus-year-old Lucimine with Lily behind her, the new head of the Aether Foundation. Also, Hal and Moan show up at this scene. Hal asks Lily and Lucimine what's going on, and they explain that after the Nihilego incident and after Kanto, Lucimine got healed and spent many years after her full recovery finding ways to recover her husband with help from the wormholes that were still in Alola, but just as they were about to look at the last one, a new wormhole formed, spit him out, as well as the Pokepelago near the Aether Foundation. After that, it was a lengthy process to restore Moan's memories, but after that, the two lost lovers were reunited, with Lily taking up the position as the head of the Aether Foundation sometime after, since Lucimine saw her as someone more than qualified to take care of this place after she's gone, on top of all she did in the past and during the process to save Moan. So, yeah, Lucimine's not evil anymore, nor is she responsible for what's currently going on in the story. So is Lily the one? Well, no. The Ultra Recon Squad has nothing to do with the Aether Foundation in this, and Lily says that she and her brother have been trying to find their location for a while. Speaking of, Gladion, now a researcher, pops in because he saw them all talking, and he decided to join in. Also, for the sake of relief, and after all the talking/seriousness, Gladion gives his niece a head pat, because it's wholesome. After that, though, they head towards the wormhole that spawned Nihilego all those years ago, and Lily throws out her guess as to what Zossi/Soliera said about the light being reignited. What if they are trying to deal with a creature that can steal light, and are taking the Tapus to deal with the creature? And maybe the creature who caused the eclipse is the same one who took their light. With all that out of the way, Lily and Gladion tell the player they will be in touch if they find the Ultra Recon Squad's location, and Lily and Hal give Star a hug before seeing their character and rival off. The next encounter with the squad is on Pony Island, thanks to Lily and Gladion telling them about it, where they take on Zossi/Soliera again, but they win. However, Zossi/Soliera were using this battle as a distraction so that Dulce/Fico can take Tapu Fini. They make a run to Fini's shrine alongside the trial captains of Pony Island, and just as they are about to escape with Dulce/Fico, the figure that resembles a fusion of Necrozma and that mascot legendary appears from a wormhole and cuts the shrine in half, sending Dulce/Fico into the portal with Tapu Fini and separating the two squad members from each other. In the remains of the shrine, our heroes try and find the figure, but it escapes into the darkness, and they miss their chance. Zossi/Soliera is unconscious for the time being, so Koa suggested the two kids to continue the challenge and let them handle the rest. So we do just that, and then arrive at the last trial. They must first escape an obstacle course, then tame a Tauros, and then climb up the right set of stairs. If they choose the wrong set, they're teleported back to the beginning of the stairs section. Then we reach the top of the stairs and walk through the door to find the trial captains! Guardian Tapu Bulu! See, the kahuna of the island, Nanu, was informed about what happened with the Tapus being stolen and came up with an idea to deal with the recon squad by making it as rage-inducing as possible to get through, and results in the person just leaving. Nanu then states that if you beat Tapu Bulu, you'll get the fight EMZ and should be strong enough to deal with that Ultra Recon guy. So you beat Tapu Bulu, get the fight EMZ, and complete the island challenge. But then, Dulce/Fico shows up, and he is pissed over what happened earlier, and says that he is going to take that Tapu and get their partner back. So then we fight Dulce/Fico, and find out that he was the one who knocked us out in the beginning with his Pokemon/Ace, Naganadal, the evolved form of Poipole. So after we beat them, they make demands for their partner to be freed, as well as to take the Tapu as he punches the player and takes the Tapu as hostage, with an extra Poipole ready to poison the Tapu at a moment's notice. Dulce/Fico comment that it's ironic that a world still with its light can still contain so much darkness. Nana gets bored with this and has his Persian knock out Poipole, and Bulu breaks free. The Recon member decides to activate a wormhole underneath Bulu to suck him in, but he also ends up sucking in the player and himself by mistake. Where do they go? Well, Ultra Megalopolis. So we travel through Megalo Tower for a bit, find the location of the Tapus who are strapped to a machine, and find Dulce or Fico, depending on the version, ready to fire it, telling the player he just wanted the light back to all worlds that have lost their light, and now he has the chance to do it. Even if it means sacrificing one world's light, he'll do it. But then, the figure from before appears. It is indeed the mascot legendary, but it's fused with Necrozma. Dulce/Fico is stunned by this. This is the creature who stole his light and others? He comments there's no way they can stop it, not even he could. Yet we face it anyways and win, separating the two legendaries combined with the mascot legendary hitting it in the face for trying to take it over in the first place. However, Necrozma lets out a roar as Necrozma grabs them and absorbs them with their light and the light of the mascot legendary. It becomes Ultra Necrozma and destroys Ultra Megalopolis with one prismatic laser, sending them all back to Alola, which is still consumed in the eclipse, who we now know was caused by Necrozma. Dulce/Fico curses himself for letting this happen. Now he's responsible for letting this world be destroyed. But then the Kahunas and Trial Captains come forward and prepare to use their Z-moves on Necrozma, while you deal with the legendary. And it's just as hard as the original games. But he can be beaten. And once he is, Necrozma screams in pain again and is about to fight back. But then a Z-move hits Necrozma in the back. It's the mascot legendary Z-Crystal. But how? But with this distraction, everyone's finished charging their Z-moves and hits Necrozma with it, with all this energy pouring into him, on top of the light he just absorbed from the Tapus and the battle damage from your player character. He absorbs the energy from all of that, and Necrozma fades into nothing but light due to him being overloaded, ending the eclipse in Alola and returning the light to the Tapus and all the worlds he stole from. So yeah, you may not be able to get an Ultra Necrozma in this, but honestly, a Pokemon like that shouldn't be captured because it's pretty busted stats-wise, and given what it did in this What If alone, yeah, it's probably a good thing you didn't capture it. And yes, it is somewhat similar to how Ultra Necrozma was dealt with in the anime, but I liked it, so it's like, why not? Certainly wouldn't be the first time the games took something from the anime. Anyways, the Ultra Recon Squad are thrown in prison for what they did, but they are glad that Necrozma is gone. We then take on the Elite Four, which is mostly the same as before, except instead of Apollo, you fight How, but it's the champion battle where things get interesting. If you had a save of the previous game, you get to fight, well, the team you used back when you became the Alolan champion for the first time. Yep, you get to fight yourself, just like in Generation 2. Except it's a little bit different, obviously. This one you have a save. Anyways. If you don't have a save, though, you will still fight the champion of Sun and Moon regardless, whether it be the male or female one is up in the air, but it's just that the team is already made up. It doesn't rely on a previous save. But yeah, as for the gender, I don't know, maybe you fight the same one as you chose, maybe the opposite. Either way, you fight the champion, so there is that. Now, as for the post-game, this is where things get interesting. See, I wanted to do Team Rainbow Rocket, but given how much story I added to the game, I decided that Rainbow Rocket's not going to be in this What If. So my apologies to those who wanted to see Rainbow Rocket in this What If. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to do after the post-game, because there are some side quests you could do to help expand the world of Alola a bit. For instance, the Ultra Beast quest from the original games is present, as is the Ultra Wormhole minigame, where you ride the mascot legendary through Ultra Space. In addition, You also get an encounter with Guzma, where he's traveling through Alola, and it's after you beat him that you find out he's the father of Ulata, the Poison Trial Captain, and also Plumeria's husband. I mean, we don't know their ages either, so it's possible they could have been in their 40s by the time this version of Ultra Sun and Moon takes place in. So, it's possible. Also, you get the Z Crystal for beating him, so that's an added bonus. You could also participate in a short side quest to help the wormhole Lurantis return home to its native dimension, with Lily and Gladian's help if you want. But speaking of the two, you also get a chance to fight the siblings individually. But they are basically super bosses due to their Pokemon. Gladion has the same team as the original Ultra games, but now he has a Tyranitar instead of the Kanto starter that matches your Alolan starter, and they're in the level 80s. So have fun with that. As for Lily, I gave her a fairy-themed team, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Like Gladion, her Pokemon ranges from level 75 to 80, and has a Clefable, in reference to the Clefairy she has when she's your multi-battle partner, Alolan Ninetales, in reference to her main Pokemon from the anime, Togekiss, no particular reference, I just thought it would be a good Pokemon for her to have for this team, Klefki, in reference to her tough as steel determination seen in the story, Carbink, for the sake of variety, and Mawile, who can also go Mega because, well, Mega Mawile is a pretty strong Pokemon, so I thought it'd be fitting for a super boss fight. Though on the topic of fights, let's tackle the title defense matches. Like the original Ultra games, we got a fight against Kukui, Ryuki, and Sophocles, who used their original teams from said Ultra games, but we also got fights from Ulata, whose team can be seen here, a rematch against the champion of the original Sun and Moon, but if you became the champion back in Sun and Moon with Pokemon at level 100, they would stay at level 100, so there is that. A fight against the professor of this game, whose team can be seen here, a fight against Kukui's son Kanade, whose team can be described as I picked it to look cool, and of course, a fight against your rival. Star has their starter Pokemon weak to yours, but it is a lot stronger now, moves and stat-wise, and also has their Z Crystal. They also have Dusk-Lycanroc, Blissey, since it represents her journey of overcoming her inferiority complex and healing from it, Lopunny, who can go Mega in reference to how strong she is as a trainer now, Sylveon, in reference to her mother's team of fairies, as well as representing her current mental state after her journey is completed, and Mimikyu, because I needed a Pokemon for the 6th slot, so why not go with a Ghost Fairy type for the sake of variety? So, yeah, I think that covers just about everything related to this What If. Yeah, just kidding. There's no way I was gonna finish this What If and not add in one of my biggest annoyances with the original Ultra games, the lack of new Alolan forms. So let's wrap this up by adding in some new Alolan forms, and that should also fill in the space the original Rainbow Rocket side quest had, so it's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's start off with an easy one. Alolan Bulbasaur through Venusaur retains its Poison Grass type, but it is based on the Poison Dart Frog, which is seen in Hawaii. Also, yes, for some of these, I will not have the new designs on the screen since I couldn't pen down what they would ultimately look like for the most part, just the mon and their inspiration, so yeah, sorry. Next up is Alolan Dugong, based on the Hawaiian Monk Seal, and it'll retain its typing. However, Alolan Seal will not be a thing. It'll be a Cantonian Seal, and then it will evolve into this new Dugong form unless you're in Ultra Space / Megalopolis. But that's not the only gen getting some Alolan love in this one. 7 out of these 9 new forms are from non-Kanto regions. So next up is Alolan Politoed, based on the Cane Toad, another creature seen in Hawaii, but like before, it retains its original typing. Alolan Stantler, based on the Axis tier, also seen in Hawaii, but is now a Grass Normal type. Alolan Macargo, based on the Hawaiian Tree Snail, and is now Grass Rock, so that the Pokemon could survive a different climate than Johto / Kanto. Alolan Zangoose, based on the Javan Mongoose, and is now Normal Fire, since this particular mongoose isn't a fan of rain and prefers dry habitats. Alolan Pelipper, based on the main bird of Hawaii, the Nene. Its typing is Flying Grass, since the Nene's diet is composed of mainly vegetation and grass, and its habitats are usually in grassy areas. So, there's that. Yes, that means it has a 4 times weakness to ice, but to be fair, the original Pokemon did have a 4 times weakness to thunder attacks, so it kind of balances out in a sense. Following that, we have Alolan Suibat, based on the Hawaiian Horebat. Its typing would be Ghost Flying, a somewhat reversal of its original type of Psychic Flying. And finally, we have Alolan Caracosta, based on the Hawksbill Sea Turtle. It would be a Water Steel type, since the Hawksbill can eat coral reef sponges, which are poisonous to other animals, due to its immunity to the poison, and also because their shells are tough and also contain gold patterns. It would make Empolion's typing less unique, but Honestly, the franchise itself has done that to a lot of Pokemon who used to have unique typings over the years. Isn't that right, Meloetta Pirouette form, Flygon and Litwick line? But yeah, that takes care of everything related to what I would do if I made the Ultra games into sequels. So with all that said, thank you all for watching, special thanks to my patrons, and have a great day everyone.